Hi, this is Jared here at Motion Sound Studios in Los Angeles, California. Today I'm going to teach you about how to improve your notes. Now, there's two types of notes you might be talking about when you're talking about improving your notes, so I'm going to go through both of them. The first one is improving your notes when you're playing an instrument, like a guitar or a harp or a flute, and the next one is improving your notes when you're singing. So I'm going to go through those one by one. First, let's talk about improving your notes on an instrument. And now this is something that's more technical and really just takes practice. And what you want to do to play notes well on your instrument is practice hitting each note individually first. So for example, if you're playing saxophone, before you start doing scales, you want to make sure you can hit each note very well on its own first. Once you can do that, actually just get the pitch of it, then you can move on to learning some basic scales, basic modes, and things like that. Learn your major scale, your blues minor scale, and then really all you got to do is practice these things. You practice the scale slow, practice it slow at first, and then once you hit every note perfectly, you don't breeze through it. If you mess up one note, you start over. Start from the beginning and do it slow until you get it perfectly right. And if you don't miss steps when you're practicing and you take the time to get it perfect when you're learning, then later on you're going to hit all those notes really well when you're actually playing. And the other thing is, practicing scales is really important, but you also want to practice intervals too, which is what a lot of people forget. Because moving from one note to the next note is really easy, but jumping note octaves and sixths and fifths and things like that, that's what's really hard in musical instrument playing. So make sure after practicing your scales, practice just doing like a da 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 da, things like that, where you're hitting a bunch of different intervals. And when you're moving on to voice, when you want to make your voice sound better and the notes you're singing sound better, you can use similar techniques. It's just a lot harder because you can't guarantee that your voice is going to sound a certain way. You really do have to train it to get the certain sound out of it. So the most important things when singing, first you want to make sure you're breathing in and out when you sing. That's so important. It sounds obvious, but it's really not, and a lot of people forget, even I forget sometimes. Instead of your you want to make sure you have breath coming out, because that's what gives it that beautiful when you can feel the breath coming out of your mouth. That's when it's going to sound good. Breathing is such an important part that you want to make sure there's breath flowing out of your mouth and coming in with every note you sing. You don't want to be stopping off your esophagus. And the next thing, just like with instruments, before you sing a full melody line, you want to sing it through really slowly and make sure you have that pitch of each note perfect before you move on, because just glancing over the notes really quickly is what makes it sound bad and makes it sound off pitch. So you want to make sure you go through one by one, really take the time to learn each note on its own before you fit it together in a melody. This has been Jared with Motion Sound Studios, and today I taught you about how to improve your notes.